my disappointment and concern was shared by my audience and people who are like me.
The MAGA civil war is heating up as yet another Trump sucker has fallen on the front lines. This time, the Gen Z influencer Brett Cooper, one of the newest up-and-comers in the conservative media space. But like a rat on a sinking ship, she is swimming for her life and trying to paint herself as a moral centrist. If you ask me, I think the writing is on the wall. Trump has never been more unpopular, especially with Gen Z. And as he continues to deny the current cost of living crisis,
And I wonder what grade you would give
A
your
plus.
economy. A plus.
Yeah, A plus, 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 plus.
Well, it's interesting.
folks are gonna be turning to the blue side for salvation. I mean, just look at the stunning mayoral victory in Miami this week, where Eileen Higgins will become the first Democratic mayor in nearly 30 years. The tide is going out now for the blue tsunami in 2026, folks. And man, are we riding the wave here at Really American. You can join our community by subscribing and leaving a comment below, or over on Substack at the link below. All right, let's get right into it. Now, you may have thought that Brett Cooper here was just Ben Shapiro in drag, and you would be forgiven for thinking so. But now that Brett has divorced herself from Ben Shapiro's failing media company, The Daily Wire, she has found new success as an independent YouTuber. And as such, she is more tapped into her audience and their concerns, namely affordability, which her old God King Trump is claiming is a hoax. Let's see how she squares that.
So you got a lot of attention when you criticized President Trump a few weeks ago. What drew you, what moved you to feel you needed to speak up?
Because I think my disappointment and concern was shared by my audience and people who are like me. The thing that really spurred me into action was seeing Trump doing his Laura Ingraham interview. And I know Laura and love her. I think it was a great interview. It was enlightening in a lot of ways, some not very positive.
He said this thing about H-1B visa holders. We need those because we don't have talented Americans. And some other things.
And it was a very, you could tell he was frustrated. You could tell he was angry, and he had a very quick response where Laura was saying, well, don't we have American talent? We don't need to import people. We have American talent. He said, no, we don't have the talent. And that was the clip that went viral. And everybody was talking about it, and I obviously felt like I had an obligation to speak on it because I, as a consumer, had watched that clip and went, okay, what the heck are we doing? Like, this is like the worst thing for a president to say. And I wanted to make sure in that episode that it was nuanced, because my opinion on it is nuanced. Number one, I do think that we have a problem with H-1B visas in this country. I think a lot of young people going out into the world, especially young people who were in STEM. And also, that part of the conversation was when Laura was talking about manufacturing and bringing manufacturing back into this country. It is true that you can't just flip a switch overnight and have factories up and running and have everything made in America. That is true. There needs to be a transition period, and I think that that is what Trump was trying to say, is that right now we might not have people who know how to make all the things that we've been sending overseas, but his response to simply say we don't have the talent, that was a bad move.
Watching
so that was my point.
Watching your video on this, I got the impression that you had even a larger disappointment. This isn't the guy I voted for in 2024.
Yeah.
You sounded like you felt he lost his way.
Well, I think that he has been focused on a lot of other things, and there have been a lot of positive things. You know, I think that we are getting what we voted for when it comes to illegal immigration and deportation. I'm happy about that. And I'm, happy about what is, happening overseas. I was extremely happy about the peace agreement with Israel and Hamas. I'm so glad that the, hostages are home. He has done incredible peace deals, across, the Middle East. That has been incredibly, significant and positive. That is also what I voted for. But again, at the end of the day, the number one issue for people on both sides of the aisle was the economy. And while gas prices are coming down slightly, while we are seeing things moving in the right direction, inflation did decrease a little bit when it comes to people, putting their Thanksgiving dinner on the table, when it comes to young people saying, okay, clock is ticking, I want to buy a home, I want to get married. That it hasn't been happening as fast as possible. And to see the distraction in other ways and to deflect, I think that was the big part, is to deflect and say, we don't have the talent. Actually, the economy is great. Actually, there is no affordability crisis. It's just made up in your minds. It's like, okay, I understand that you're frustrated, but you need to be honest with Americans. because we are going to the grocery stores, we see what the prices are. So I think that was a disappointment, is just like, let's just be honest here. And you can say, you can have humility and say it's not happening as quickly as you want it to, but let's show Americans what exactly you are doing to try to make it better.
It's pretty easy to see why Brett would want to distance herself from Trump when Gen Z is her entire audience. Trump has squandered his approval with the group that won him the election, Gen Z.
And you know, he started off his term, his net approval rating among voters under the age of 30 at plus 10 points. Hey, that's pretty gosh darn good. But you come over now, according to CBS News YouGov, this is going into a deep, dark, black hole. Look at that, minus 46 points. That is a shift on the net approval of 56 points in the wrong direction since February. You rarely ever see swings.
We look at a lot of polls. We almost never see drops this big, this quickly.
Yeah.
Here's the headline from Newsweek. Donald Trump's approval rating in black hole with young people, says analyst. But the damage might have already been done for MAGA. We are already seeing consequences of Trump's first year in office. You see, where Brett Cooper might celebrate the intense ICE raids and deportation campaign, the Latinos in Florida, namely Miami, mostly conservative Cubans, are suddenly finding out that they don't like it when the federal government has an open license to just round up every Latino they see. Guess it was a bad idea that they voted for Donald Trump.
I will vote for Donald Trump.
Eileen Higgins was successfully able to capitalize on this loss of love from the Latino community. In becoming the first Democrat to lead the city in nearly 30 years, Higgins said she will explore legal ways to unwind an agreement between the city and the federal government that empowers police officers to conduct immigration enforcement. We need to look at all our legal options to ensure that our city police work for our neighborhoods and not on checking residents' papers, Higgins said in Spanish at a press conference on Wednesday. And it's not just the Latinos who have turned on Trump in Miami, it's young people and really anyone who's having problems paying the bills right now, something Trump is saying is a hoax, like he always does.
The word affordability is a con job. They use the word affordability. It's a Democrat hoax. Look, affordability is a hoax.
But a man who thinks that grocery is some ancient, old-fashioned word definitely is too out of touch to realize how big of a crisis this is. Here's from the same reporting from the Associated Press. When I hear what the residents have to say about affordability, it's real. They're facing expensive rent, expensive property insurance, costs of all sorts of things, especially even now the things they're buying in the stores due to the tariffs, she said. I think every leader in America needs to think deeply about what they can do to help get the affordability crisis under control for the American people. I mean, it's no wonder why she won this election. Even Brett Cooper can see that the path that Trump is on right now is going to be disastrous for MAGA in 2026. Trump seems to think that he can just insult his way out of this one like he tries to do with everything. But much like the Epstein files debacle, I think he's going to find that it's a lot harder to sweep this one under the rug. Sooner or later, it's all going to blow up in his face. And when it does, we'll be right here at Really American with a bucket of popcorn and a hilarious video for you to watch on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe or join us over on Substack. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.